Folks, join veteran NHL coach Lauren Mulliken, Rough Riders great Bob Pulley, golfer Gil Dash, and me at the first ever Wolseley Celebrity Sports Dinner on Saturday, October 19th. A night of stories, laughs, and a great dinner benefiting the Wolseley Sportsplex. For tickets, email wolseley.arenaboard@gmail.com. This guy may or may not be surprised how badly I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. Can we bring in our good friend Lou Gamelin from the Captain Lou Sports Extravaganza? Lou, I'm just going to mention this. David Montgomery's 1-yard touchdown run in overtime lifted the Detroit Lions to a 26-20 NFL win over the Matthew Stafford-led Rams on Sunday night in a rematch of their NFC wildcard game. You've been commenting a lot on that game, but I dearly need your take on the Red Wings. And we're going to get to that. But you're basically saying no apologies from the Detroit Lions today? Is that what you're saying?
No apologies at all, Rod. First of all, thanks for having me back on the show. No apologies indeed. It was one heck of a game. I was wondering what it was going to be like last night. You talked about it a little bit earlier, the first game of the year. There's going to be rust. Neither one of these quarterbacks played all year, and it showed in the first couple of series. But towards the end, it was smash mouth football, something that Chuck Knox and every other coach of the 70s would be just loving right now. 7 running plays in overtime out of 8, and they just bullied their way in for the win.
I've got the Lions and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Do you have the Lions in the Super Bowl?
I have the Lions and the Chiefs as well. I picked that last week on my show. I think they are just that complete a team. They went out in the offseason and addressed the defensive need in the defensive backfield. And Terrion Arnold last night, their opening round or the first round draft pick out of Alabama, he matched up against Cooper Kupp. Now, I know he gave up 14 receptions, but I think Kupp would have got 14 on just about anybody yesterday. They were that dialed in. And they really addressed that weakness, Rod. And I think that they're going to they're going to play on what happened in the last half of that game against San Francisco in the championship game. And they're not satisfied. They want to take that next step. And the Lions fans in Michigan and the Detroit area, they're still thinking to themselves, I don't know how to act. Games like last night, those were games that the Lions would have lost. And so this is just a totally different phenomenon here right now.
I'm going to get right back to the Lions in a second, but we always, as you do as well, like the audience participation. 902-518-3033 to text our studio here at Johnny O's Gymnasium in Florida. Rob writes in regarding Tom Brady's maiden broadcast. Rob Swallow writes, does anyone remember Tony Romo's first broadcast? No. Tom Brady will be just fine in time. I don't turn the sound up when I'm watching games. Lou, I don't know if you saw me mention that earlier. I don't need it. But when I remembered that Tom was calling the game yesterday, I turned the sound up because that's my team, the Cowboys. And it was awkward. I'm a huge Brady fan. And I believe he'll be great. But what did you think of his first broadcast?
Well, you know what? He was nervous. You could tell. He's human. And he made a few mistakes, but so did Tony Romo in his first broadcast. I mean, these guys, this is a whole new phenomenon for him. And I know, this, they do walkthroughs, they do practice games, just talking into recorders, for lack of a better word. He's going to get better with time. Once he gets comfortable, he's going to be pretty good. He's knowledgeable, and I think he's not going to make the broadcast about him. And I think that's big. And I look forward to listening to him again. I really do, because I'm a big Brady guy too. And I think he's going to do wonders.
Well, it's just, I don't really get the Brady hate. I would just chalk it up, to be honest, to jealousy. Whatever. I'll admit that it wasn't great, but he will be great. Back to the Lions. The laughing stock for decades, Lou. Who gets the credit that they're not anymore, in your mind?
Well, I think Sheila Hemp starts. She went out and she got guys like Chris Spielman to work in the front office, And that was a culture changer, bringing in Brad Holmes, sticking their neck out to get, Dan Campbell. And we all know, you and I have talked about this, that opening press conference, biting kneecaps on the way back up. Everybody, they laughed at him. They thought, oh boy, what a buffoon. Well, they bought in. When you can get a guy and you can get a GM and you can buy into that, I think it starts at the top and works its way right to Dan Campbell. And now it's interesting. I heard something last week. Agents are calling Detroit to see if they or their players can come. Never in my lifetime, Rod, has that ever happened where agents have wanted their guys to play for the Detroit Lions. And the people in Michigan are basking in it right now.
Yeah, whatever it is about him, I mean, I don't know. I just looked up his resume here, and he interned with the Dolphins in 2010, was the tight ends coach here for 5 seasons, and then interim head coach in 2015. Then he went to the Saints and now obviously to the Lions, and they miss him in Miami. He's that kind of guy, Dan Campbell. And the players very clearly say they would go through a wall for this guy. They are.
They bought in. Look at the game plan. Look at last night. This is, Rod, you watched the NFL enough now. This is a passing league. And, not everybody's going to get the same amount of stats each week. Look at Amon-Ra St. Brown had 3 catches, I think, yesterday. Sam Laporta had 3 catches or 4 catches. And they've got a speedster, and Jamison Williams. He had a kind of a breakout game last night. But they did what it took to win, and they saw something in overtime. They saw maybe a tired defensive line for the Rams, and boy, did they just exploited it. And when you can get 7 carries or 7 rushes out of the 8 plays and just bully your way down the field, and again, they didn't use all. It was a complete effort. They withstood some mistakes, and that's all part of buying into Dan Campbell's his work ethic and his theme.
Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in and says, I agree with Lou. I'm looking forward to listening to Tom do more games. I think he'll end up being one of the best color commentators in the NFL. Now to what I really wanted to talk with you about. The Red Wings and the Florida Panthers reside in the same division, Tampa Bay Lightning too. And listen, Lou, you're my guy. Like, I'm writing now for the South Florida Tribune. I just focus on the Panthers and the Lightning. I don't really look around at the other teams. You're my guy, is my point in Detroit. And they don't have the goaltending. From what I can see, Lou, they still don't. So are they going to be a playoff team or not?
Well, they're so close. And obviously, goaltending always seems to be an issue here in Detroit. It's the goaltender, it's the quarterback, it's the relief pitcher here in Detroit. And they don't have it. I mean, God bless Cam Talbot. I don't know if he's the answer. Billy Husso, I don't think he's ready. I don't know if he could stay healthy. Kosa is, I think he's going to be up with the parent club. He did great in Grand Rapids, Rod. But, the jury's out. Is he going to be able to handle the big, handle the big boys? And, I know they've got somebody lined up at Michigan State, but that's down the road. And nobody wants to hear that now here in Detroit. The other focus is with Raymond and Sider. They're unsigned yet. I still think they'll sign them both to long-term deals. And, here's my question to you. What do you think about Tarasenko coming to Detroit? I mean, how big of an impact do you think he'll have here with the wing wheel?
I'd love to go on your show and talk about that. So as a guy whose dad worked in the NHL for 26 years, I just listen to the hockey people. I can form my own opinions too, but I haven't watched him on a night in, night out basis. So what they said in St. Louis was that he was lazy. And I'm like, okay, well, he's an all-star every year. He won a Stanley Cup. How lazy could he be? And then up in Ottawa, my hockey people up there are that, oh yeah, he's lazy. I'm like, oh boy. So when the Panthers got him here, I didn't think much of it on the trade deadline last year. But what happened, Lou, was that for 3 months, he was on his best behavior. He was back-checking every play. He became a 200-foot player. I don't know what he was doing in practice, but he was on the top 1 or 2 lines. He was on the power play. He was on his best behavior for 3 to win a Stanley Cup. Do you see what I'm saying? In a short window, he was exactly what the Panthers wanted. And I didn't see any traits of him being lazy at all. You guys got him for the whole year. So we'll see if that can. It's a tough. It takes a lot of energy to play that way, is my point. I don't know if he's got it in him.
Yeah. Well, and I think they've got a good base of talent. They're getting there. I mean, we all know the Yzer plan. Everybody says be patient. Well, the patience, I think, is starting to run out a little bit here with the fan base. And again, it goes back to your point, your question about the goaltending. And I 100% agree with you. That's the biggest question mark. I'm not sold on Talbot. Husso can't stay healthy. Alex Lyon was a nice story for a while. But, if they got to rely on those three, if Kosa's not ready, boy, it's going to come right down again to the last weekend, the last period. I still harken back to when they had that shootout and they won the shootout, but they had already found out that they got knocked out. And Kane made that goal, and it was just like, who cares? And I don't think he wants to go through that again either.
Well, we have a lot of viewers in Edmonton, and they know Sebastian Cossa from his days with the Oil Kings. He's got WHL championship credentials. He's 6'6". He's got all that. He's young, so maybe he'll be the guy. But the one thing, Lou, is I see Detroit when they come in here to Sunrise. There's just so much respect just dripping off that organization. I just respect the hell out of them. And I laugh at this. I mean, there's so many armchair GMs out there. When they get going on about Ken Holland, but he only won one Stanley Cup in the salary cap. Shut your mouth.
Oh, my God.
He's got 4. 3 pre, 1 post. Shut up. Stop talking. Ken Holland is the man. Agree or disagree?
Preach. I agree 1,000%. I mean, Rod, I grew up in the 70s watching the Dead Wings, right? I remember the early 80s when they had to give a car away every night to get people to get into the Joe. It was bad. Brad Park coaching and telling the guys to jump over the wall to engage in fights. I mean, and then Kenny Holland comes along, and all he did was assemble one of the greatest teams of all time in 2002. I mean, in my opinion, it's one of the top 2 or 3 of all time. And the people that just dog him, it's just insane. That's why, I would have loved to have seen him win another cup, but he's won 4 with Detroit. And you know what? He's always going to hold a special place in my heart because I don't know about you. I like my teams to win, and he's a winner, and he built one.
I thought that used to be the thing. Apparently it's not anymore. Right. But yeah. What I'm realizing is literally just walking away from people is actually the best thing you can do. Don't stand there and argue because they ain't never going to see it your way. Lou, thanks for jumping on, man. I knew this would be a treat. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Thanks.
Lou Gamelin out of Michigan, the host of the Captain Lou Sports Extravaganza from the 12-ounce Sports Network. Coming back with a sports update and viewer takeover as well. We are live on the Game Television Network, broadcasting from Johnny O's in Boca Raton, Florida. Also WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.